They save us, but who saves them? Every day they put their lives on the line to save others. The West Midlands Fire Service are the second largest fire and rescue service in the country, delivering emergency response, education, prevention activities across the West Midlands. After being in a house fire myself when I was 5 years old and not having any smoke alarms fitted at all, I'm interested to interview Matt Brinton today, who is a crew commander for the West Midlands Fire Service. So welcome, Matt, to the studio and welcome to This England TV. So you're here today to talk to me about the importance of smoke alarms and mental health in the fire service. So I'm interested to know, what is the main cause of a house fire?
So statistically, the leading cause is cooking appliances, followed shortly by electrical incidents. But the leading cause of fatal house fires would be smoking materials.
Oh, perfect. We have some images today to show everyone, and these images are from actual jobs that you've been on.
Yeah.
So if you want to discuss those images.
Yeah, so the first incident to talk about is a car fire.
Okay.
Happened on a driveway late at night. The people were very fortunate, but it was going quite well, more than likely deliberate. And it really highlights the risks associated with arson-related incidents, and especially with the close proximity to the house.
Yeah. So that was the first one with the car, and the second image is of a kitchen setting on fire. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Fairly appropriate given the statistics, but the second incident to talk about is a fire involving a toaster.
Yeah.
It was made worse by the fact that as it caught, there were a lot of combustible materials above.
Okay.
And we got sent to what we thought was going to be a small fire in a toaster, and on arriving it was fairly well developed as far as kitchen fires go. What
would you say the worst job you've been on is, and why?
Any job with a loss of life is obviously fairly difficult. They're complex incidents, and there's a lot to take from that. Fatal house fires and fatal RTCs, sort of, especially where there are emotional connections.
Yeah, so is there any specific job that you'd say really sticks with you now?
I attended a fatal RTC a number of years ago, and just the sheer devastation and knowing what had happened in the follow-up, because it was quite a big deal. We learnt more about that story than we maybe would have done, and that kind of brought a lot of things home to us. Yeah.
So having obviously the trauma of these kind of jobs, how do you feel you were supported by the fire service?
So first line is line management. Myself, I'm a part of that. We double check that people are okay, and then there's the opportunity for CIDs and PIDs, which are critical incident debriefs and post-incident defusing, where specialists come out and they talk to us about the way that we can manage it and the things to expect, and to help us support ourselves through those processes.
Perfect. So you do feel supported by the fire service, and obviously they have the Firefighters Charity as well, which they do an incredible job. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the Firefighters Charity?
Yeah, so I've been a regular giver to the charity since I started. It automatically comes out my salary. All the people that I know that have used the service have used it for physical rehab, on-duty injuries or off-duty injuries. They've got some cracking facilities that we get access to simply for being a part of the job.
Amazing. Have you ever had to use the Firefighters Charity for anything personally, or do you know of anyone that has had to use the benefits of the Firefighter Charity?
I haven't personally. Touch wood, I've been lucky enough to not suffer injuries that needed it, but quite a few of the people that I work with have. They've attended for respite care and rehab, and they get a week away in good facilities with really good specialised care that helps them through their injuries and gets them back to work.
Of course, yeah. So again, myself, I was in a house fire, and at the time I had no smoke alarms fitted, but I do believe the fire service now does fit and check smoke alarms for free. Is this correct?
Yes, so certainly in West Midlands, our area, we will come out and we'll do a safe and well check, which looks at a wide range of fire safety and home safety aspects, and some areas to do with health. all fire services will offer a similar sort of service, but people would need to inquire with their local one to see what the score was.
So make sure you inquire if you do not have any smoke alarms fitted. And so regarding mental health in the fire service, again, you obviously go to a lot of traumatic jobs. Do you feel like your colleagues, you're very close to your colleagues? Do you deal with that together, or do you go home and kind of deal with it yourself? How do you deal personally with traumatic jobs?
It's, for me personally, it's striking a balance between the two.
Yeah.
We work in very close proximity for a lot of hours, and we're very much like a family. A lot of stuff will get talked through, but then you can't help but finish your shift and go home and be alone. So there is a lot of processing time when you're on your own.
Yes, of course.
It can't be helped, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, of course. So regarding the firefighters charity, you said that you pay money out of your monthly wage to that.
Yes.
What is that? Is that just because you see the benefits personally of what the charity does?
Yeah, so they, when I joined the service 11.5 years ago, they spoke to us and said this was an opportunity, it was a benefit for us, and if we were interested. And it's always, you hope you're never going to need it, but I'd like to know that I've given so that if I was to need it, I've done my bit. Yeah,
so regarding RTCs and house fires, would you say you attend more RTCs than house fires?
Statistically speaking, yeah, we're dealing with more RTCs than we are house fires. House fires and fire safety has been a big theme for a long time, whereas road safety is a lot more difficult to tap into.
Yeah, of course. So what would you say the worst house fire you've been to is, and why?
I attended an incident in the Coventry area that we could see from 2 or 3 miles away. Officer in charge said we might be on for a job here, because as you looked out into the distance you could see a plume of smoke, plaster had fallen off the walls, the front door had disintegrated. It was a petrol bomb incident, so that was fairly bad.
Oh, okay, perfect. So again, we're here for fire prevention. What would you say to anybody that doesn't have smoke alarms fitted?
They really make a difference. You don't have a sense of smell when you're asleep.
Yes, of course.
People are unlikely to wake up. It takes a very small amount of smoke to knock you out, and once that happens, you know.
Well, for myself, I was woken up by a passerby in the middle of the night, so if it wasn't for that passerby, I would probably not be here today. So again, I cannot explain the importance of smoke alarms from my own personal experience. What do you think regarding smoke alarms? Do you think people are getting them checked a lot more now, or no? What's your point of view on that?
Smoke alarm ownership's becoming a lot more common.
Yes.
Changes in the law and the landlords of particularly rented properties taking ownership of that is increasing the prevalence of people having smoke alarms. Testing is still hit and miss. It's probably not as regular as it should be, but thankfully fire alarms and smoke alarms are getting a lot more reliable.
Yes. So I'm interested to know, after the Grenfell Tower incident, do you feel like fire prevention was a big thing then?
Yeah.
Do you think things changed?
Grenfell and a number of other high-profile incidents around the same sort of time have really brought it home for people.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody thinks it won't happen to them, and then when something so public happens, it does heighten awareness. Yeah. And we did notice a big spike in interest post-Grenfell.
So how many house fires occur each year in the UK?
In England, for March 17 to March 18, there were 30,000. 30,000,
that's incredible. So how many house fires do you think you've personally attended just this year?
Just this year, it'd be difficult to count.
Okay.
They roughly will go to a house fire every couple of weeks, every couple of months. There's peaks and trends. You don't necessarily always know, but there's been a few.
Yeah, of course. So regarding traumatic experiences in the fire service, do you ever see any of maybe the victims that you have had to deal with later on after jobs, or do you have any communication with them? If so, how and what?
Generally, it's rare.
Yeah.
There have been instances where people will come into the station to see us.
Yes.
Probably the only example that really sticks out to me was a fatal RTC I attended. 2 vehicles were involved. The occupant of one car was dead at the scene, but the occupant of another vehicle, we happened to be fundraising 3 to 4 months later, and a woman came up to us and said, you guys look familiar. I don't suppose you happen to be. And she explained the incident, and it turns out that we were the crew that had attended and looked after her daughter. And then they brought the daughter around, and the dad, and they had biscuits and a card. And that's probably, it's rare, but that kind of really sticks with you.
Yeah, of course. So obviously you are local everyday heroes, and people really respect what you do. What would you say to anybody thinking of joining the fire service?
It's definitely a career to think about. No day is the same. It sounds cliched, but it really isn't. The opportunities and the experiences that I've had, I wouldn't get in any other line of work. And for me, serving my community, I really get to make a difference.
And that's what a lot of it is about, going into the community, because I believe you're going to schools and you do fire prevention talks with children. How do you find that?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, the fires and the emergency calls is a small part of the role.
Yeah, of course.
Critical but small. A lot more time spent on prevention-based activity. Dealing with school children is interesting.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Sometimes they shut down. Sometimes they just want to engage.
Yeah.
The weirdest questions get asked.
Of course. Do you find children now know what to do in a fire, or do you feel like you really have to explain to them? Do you get any interesting answers from children as to what they would do in a fire?
Yeah, we show a video at the beginning that's laboratory controlled fire, and it starts and you ask them what they do, and somebody always puts a hand up and says they'd get a bucket of water, and you run the video and they run off and fetch a bucket of water, imaginary, and the fire's taken hold of the room by the time they get back. So that's quite a good visual indicator. They say all sorts.
Yeah, I can imagine. So for me, I work with vulnerable people. Again, is there anything that you have to do or a protocol that you have to put into place for vulnerable people? I mean, people with dementia, you know, people that suffer conditions that may not necessarily remember how to get out of a fire?
So for us, a lot of it comes down to timing.
Yeah.
Do we encounter that person at the point when they most need our support? We're always looking to engage with the most vulnerable in our community. We have complex needs officers who deal with cases of those that need the most support, and they will basically look at all avenues, social services, external support, carers, basically to try and limit that person's risk from fire.
Perfect. So you've heard it here yourself on Miss England TV today. If you would like to enter the fire service, they are recruiting at the moment, so head on over to West Midlands Fire Service website, which will be available below, and please donate to the Firefighters charity because they do an amazing job. So thanks for being here today, Matt,
No
and
problem.
thanks for being on Miss England TV with me today.
It's quite all right.